Ready to roll, folks?
Sure.
Call me later, Tammy, I'll send you something.
Okay, I didn't publish an agenda for this because basically the agenda is just what I sent to you in your last email. We're going to get through as many of the salary schedules as possible, hopefully in 15 to 20 minutes, then we'll go home.
I love that you're so optimistic.
Yeah. Just to recap, my recollection of the last United SJSD meeting was that we went through this packet of salary schedules and had at least tentative approval from that group as a whole. Is that the way everyone remembers this? Mm-hmm. Okay. I know there are some small groups of employees that we haven't discussed individually. We've focused more of our time and attention on the larger groups, various nutrition services, secretarial. What I'd like to do in the small packet that says new, there were 4 salary schedules that significant changes were made to. In the bigger packet, you'll have the old ones that have all the handwriting and the kind of the description of what was done and why, and then these in the packet that says new are a clean copy, so to speak. Okay. I'd like to just start with the top of the larger packet. The teacher salary schedule is the first one in there. It's also, oh, I'm sorry.
Can we put a new?
I guess.
Oh, you have them.
I saw the stack that said new, so that
Dr. Newhart was so far down
do
there.
you guys have the
I couldn't
new?
even
Yeah.
see it.
Thank you.
So they both
Do you guys need this bigger packet as well?
You gave it.
Yes, and I think the girls back there, do you want me to take it to them?
Sure.
I will.
I brought mine.
Am I in your way? Am I hitting you? No. I thought I was trying to.
That makes sense.
No, leave it in the shot.
So then that's no good for me.
Okay, so on the smaller one that says new, the very first page of that is the updated teacher salary schedule as we had discussed last time at United SJSD. Basically what happened, the first number of the master's column from the old list, the 39,675, was removed. Everything else was bumped down, and a new step 31 was created, which was 65,232. Cost for that's approximately $300,000, as we discussed at the last meeting. The discussion had also been, at this point in time, not to adjust the base, as I recall, and so that's where we are currently with the teacher salary schedule. Comments, questions, concerns? Is this what we remember, and are we ready to move on this?
I think so.
Well, I think the teachers need to understand the reason we're not moving on the base is because of the financial condition of the district.
Oh, absolutely.
And that we just need to let them know that that's why we're doing that. We're just doing steps only because steps are hard to get back. So
Yep.
just in case there's any questions on it.
Right.
Steps guarantee you're not frozen.
Right.
And we're working on a plan to do the horizontal movement.
And for the millions of people watching on TV, the decision was made to put some additional money to the master's column, which you guys had identified as a problem, and then we'll look at bolstering the rest of it for the next time around.
Because there were 340 people that were in that master's.
Yes,
So that was the biggest
the
bang.
bulk of people are at masters. Okay.
We would like, if we could make some kind of statement about in the future, and we talked about next year, not this year, but the following year, that we would make some kind of horizontal movement, some kind of affirmation. Hey, we're going to look at maybe reducing the amount of college credit required and being able to substitute professional development in the following year.
Yeah. I don't know, since we're in this year instead of next year, I don't know that I would want to put that in any sort of writing because, well, number one, I feel like we need to put that through United SJSD first.
Correct, yeah.
But that's certainly, I have no problem with that. I think it's a good idea to, graduate hours are really expensive. There is good professional development that can be had for much cheaper, and we just need to work out a system that's equitable for both the teachers and the district.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, on the next page of the larger schedule,
And this is the one we were, oh, sorry.
I'll just refer to the big packet and the little
Okay.
packet.
All right.
The next page on the big packet, well, actually you have to go 3 pages. That was a remake of the master's column. And then on what's actually page 3, you get to the current administrative salary schedule. If you'll remember, there are 2 of them there. The long one, that's 2 pages, and then behind it is a suggested or a proposed administrative calendar, or schedule rather. When this was taken to the board, help me remember when, Dr. Newhart, it's been a month ago, hadn't it, or more?
Yeah, January.
Yeah, the board opted not to adopt any schedule. There was some concerns about just administrative, the schedule in general, and also the format of it. We, as a group, United SJSD, talked about that it would be step for administrator, no change to the base. Is that what all you guys are remembering? And so that would be the recommendation. Does anyone have a problem with recommending the table that follows that? There's the 2 pages of the long one, and then there's one that says proposed administrative salary schedule for 17-18.
And it's based off of this, correct?
Everything that's there is exactly the same in terms of numbers, with the exception of the assistant superintendent column. The first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are on there. The rest of
Yeah.
them
They match.
have been created with the same amount of space in between.
We just have to get rid of this current policy, or current schedule. It's ridiculous. It's a mess. And this puts it in this, makes it
Yeah,
uniform
and-
to our
and,
other policy, our other schedules.
We've had discussions at the district level about looking at the size of the steps. They're the same at the left as they are clear at the right. And so we would look at adjusting that down in some of those columns. Not for this year. For this year, what would be...
After a revenue
Yeah.
source.
For this year, what would be recommended, if you guys are okay with it? To be real honest with you, I would prefer to have this one, but if you say, no, let's do the great big long one, no big deal. Thoughts?
Well, my only concern is, again, for our internal candidates, that the placement on here as far as experience. So a candidate that came in with so many years of experience from outside, how would we replace them up on the schedule? I just want to see our candidates within have the same opportunity candidates from without as far as placement. I mean, we're going to place them on similar salary, or we're going to place them on years of experience. I think we need to decide which one we're going to do. I mean, because the word I'm hearing is, well, we need to place them on the appropriate salary schedule, not with regards to years of experience, whether they're coming from within or
It was
without.
explained at United, it was years of experience in that job. So if you were being hired to be an elementary principal, either within, in-house or out-of-house, they would count how many years of experience you had in that particular job, is the way I understood it at United.
And it's a little more complicated than that. I'm going to give you and this is only my opinion, and, obviously Dr. Newhart and the board are involved anytime an administrator is hired in terms of the placement right now. Just to use an example, let's look at the 2 columns that say, one that says high school assistant principal, pretty much in the middle of the deal, it says 82,497, and high school principal. So there's roughly a $12,000 difference between a first-year assistant and a first-year principal. Now, if somebody, let's say we had an internal candidate with 15 years of assistant experience, they would be at 104,048. We wouldn't say to them, well, now you're going to be, I know you're going to be a lead principal, we're going to pay you 94,800. No, there's no way they'd take it, they'd be crazy to. What we probably would, we also though would not say, well, we're going to put you on step 15 of the principal and you're at 116. So what we would do, we would discuss, and Dr. Newhart is an expert at this, we would discuss and we would come to what we thought was an appropriate raise for the additional responsibilities, but yet I don't feel like it's legitimate to give them 15 years of experience because it wasn't the exact same job. Are there similarities? Sure, but
So they would be on the 105 or 107 range,
probably
probably.
somewhere in there.
That is common sense. I think.
And is that an exact science? No, it isn't.
Well, we appreciate the fact you have, some districts are getting away from administrative salary schedules, period. And so we appreciate the fact that you have this in writing. And I'm more concerned about with our internal candidates, and also for the public viewpoint, they need to understand that you're trying to do the right thing here with having the schedule.
Yeah.
And that a lot of districts don't. It's all negotiated, and it's all, there is no administrative schedule,
Well, I
so.
think you gotta have some type of system. The one thing I would like to add is appropriate certification
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
in that footnote.
Well, you see what's happening in the news with Liberty's football coach. I mean, that just goes to show you when there isn't necessarily a salary schedule, how it can be negotiated.
It just gets crazy.
But even that question that you had, Todd, that began this discussion, it really, that doesn't have anything to, it doesn't matter which of these salary schedules we're using, right?
Right,
So are you?
I think
you
this
know,
one is more
do you-
friendly.
Are you
Well,
thinking
to
this is
read.
more user-friendly and we
Well,
can
we
go
were-
to this?
We ran through a scenario where you could, in theory, you could be an assistant principal, move up to a high school principal and actually lose money, in theory, according to the steps.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think, it's important that people understand when we go forward is our internal candidates, who we know that should probably get preference, that we're gonna place them on the appropriate level and see that they get an appropriate step for that year. Maybe, and I think that'd be a great thing, going forward. I think the public needs to understand that you're trying to do the right thing here by building a schedule and then by footnoting it and setting it up properly. And that's great.
Okay. So are you guys all right with us submitting this second one that's horizontal rather than the big, long vertical one?
Yes.
And as Dr. Newhart mentioned, also put a footnote at the bottom, must have appropriate certification.
And did you see that footnote at the bottom about new administrator placement? Yeah, that's good. That wasn't on there. That was good,
Okay.
Doctor.
All right, so we'll move on to Hilliard. The Hilliard schedule has some challenges. I think we're all aware of that. As I recall from our discussions at United SJSD, we were just going to leave this one and give people step. Is that what everybody else remembers? Okay, so we're all right with that one?
Because they're replaced, there's different levels of professionals and
Yes.
types, so there's,
Well, and also, there's a pretty big disparity in calendar days for some of them. I mean,
Oh,
some of
yeah.
those
Yeah,
programs are-
that's another question regarding this. So how are they placed? So if somebody is on a 200 or let's say, without the days, let's say a 10-month contract, and then others are a 12-month contract, but they have the same master's degree, one's working many more days, they're not making, but they've been in the district for 10 years, they're not making the same 56,400. They're making a different number. So how is that calculated and how is that figured?
Wes, I'm going to put you on the spot. I honestly don't know the answer to that. There are so many different contract lengths and requirements. There are certain programs that are taught out there that you have to pay more to get somebody to teach them. Just at radiology, for example.
Makes perfect sense.
What I would like to see happen with this, and obviously it won't happen for 17, 18, I would like to see a base table figured on whatever the shortest program is. Let's say it's 180 days. I'd like to see a base table, and then everybody that worked days beyond that was paid at a per diem rate.
That'd be great.
So that we know, here's the base,
where to set.
that's what you're paid for 180 days. If you work 210, we'll take 30 times your daily rate and add that to it. To me, that would be the simplest.
That would.
Because
Because
currently,
it's-
there's no consistency.
It's a
No,
hodgepodge.
It's just
I
all over the
completely
place.
agree.
Right.
We
So
can't
this will
figure
be a
out
priority
why.
next year?
Yes,
So
people-
currently
yes.
we're just giving them a step until we can
yes.
reorganize
Yeah.
them.
Well, in the past, they may have worked 180 days, but they gave them additional days, though they never worked, just to try to get salary up. I know,
Yes.
it's bizarre.
And so it needs to be accurate, it needs to be accurate.
As much as I hate the thought of more salary schedules, we might need to look at developing a separate salary schedule for each program. Because like you
They're
said,
so different.
some of them, you can get an entry-level teacher for 40,000, some you may have to pay 50, if you're gonna get somebody to do the job.
Right.
So,
It would be worth the work. It would be work to do at the beginning, but it would be worth it because that is a unique situation.
yeah.
And we need to be taking care of that because we need to be more career minded. I mean, that's the big push right now, you know, so.
Well, and that way it's transparent and equal for anybody coming into that position, and we understand how it's placed out.
And once it's
Whereas right now we
understandable,
don't.
we may attract a few more people. You know, right now it isn't.
Yes.
I think that we just decided that since it was such a hodgepodge, that we were gonna wait to
Just
really.
give
Right.
it a step
Yeah,
on what they
for
have,
17,
yes.
18, we're recommending a step
Yes.
on this.
Yes.
Is that what everybody's?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, beyond that one, then is the process consultant schedule, in mine anyway, if I run off task, let me know. If I remember the conversation from the last United SJSD meeting, we had determined that anything that was tied to the teacher base, we were going to recommend step. Is that what everyone remembers? Okay, so process consultant would be a step. SLP is up next in everyone's. Same thing there, it's tied to the teacher base, so we would recommend a step. Now, the thing I do want to point out about this, and most of you probably know this already, it's very hard to attract SLPs for what school districts can pay. We end up contracting out for, and this is just a guess, but I think about 2/3 of our SLPs are actually contracted employees.
That's pretty common.
Yeah, it's very common, it's very hard to.
And they make more money through
Oh,
the
yeah.
contracting.
Yeah, they can command a much higher salary contracting. Obviously, it's a required service, so we have to pay whatever we need to get them. The page beyond that, in mine anyway, is the summer school pay rate. Is that what you guys have? That was approved by the board, I believe, in November, so that's already a done deal, so to speak. The next one, the educational support. Okay, now that's one that had some significant changes, and that's page 2 of the little new.
And that is also one that not every group in that has been communicated with, unfortunately. So maybe we only need to focus on those range 2 currently?
What I'm going to suggest, and this is going to be a surprise to everyone at the table except Wes maybe, we talked about it a little bit. I think the decision that hasn't been made yet, or at least not discussed fully, when we talked to United SJSD, if you'll remember back to the color-coded wish list, there was a cost associated with same raise as last year for classified, and there was a cost associated with step for classified. And if I remember correctly, we opted to go with the same raise as last year for classified. I've met a number of times with Tammy and Lori, and we didn't discuss that in detail. What I'm going to propose to them here in a minute is that we do the same raise, because the number of employees in these groups other than para, really, those are very small employee groups. We're not talking about a huge number of people. So I would like to caucus for 5 minutes. I want to talk to them and say, hey, are you guys on board with giving the same raise that we did last year? Bring that back to you.
Because really, we can't give them more than that.
Well, I don't think it would fit in with.
That was a statement, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it would fit in with the intent of what we
What we're
discussed
doing.
at SJSD to give them more than what they
Right.
had last year.
Right.
So we're going to take 5 minutes or less. We'll be back.
Yeah, they'll take care of that.
Standing, then you.
No, this goes up.
Yeah,
Yours
you're
is
right.
real
I'm
low.
the
Good lord. Okay, got it.
Okay.
Girl.
Okay. Our group is in favor of giving the same raise or as close as we can. You know, it's not going to come out cent for cent, but as close as we can.
Plus the
In
step.
essence, right, plus a step. In essence, what happened on this schedule, when you look at the new one compared to the old one, you'll see that range 2 increased $1.07. And so that would be the base rate increase for paras, and then we would find their nearest step and then give them a step. So that's going to be a significant increase. We do believe, based on the numbers that we have, that puts all of our paras within the 50th percentile and above. Now, at the lower steps, like 1 through 5, they're pretty close to median. When you get to 15, 20, they're pretty close to the top.
They're close to you.
Yeah. So that's what was done with range 2. Now, the other employee groups that fall on the other ranges, if you'll notice on range 2, the only people that are there are the paras. The other groups, there were adjustments made to the ranges like you see. Range 3 went from 1257 to 13, range 4 from 1383 to 14, and so on. So a similar raise to what people had last year was built into that increase to step 1. We'll find the closest step and then give them a step on top of that.
And then the steps are 29 cents.
Yeah. Okay, yes. And one thing that, if you guys don't already know, Wes is a genius. He really is.
I knew that.
On the,
Evil
Don't tell
genius.
them that I have to sit next to them.
basically, one of the things that Wes did there was, as you went down the scale, some of the steps changed. They started maybe at 25 and ended up at being like 35 or 36. They're normalized so that they're all 29 now. Correct, Wes? Okay, and the reason we did that was because when we got to the bottom, our folks were far and above the highest paid. And so we felt like we could redistribute the wealth, so to speak, make the top higher. Now, everybody's still going to get a big raise, a significant raise, but it just tops out sooner. Like you'll see on, well, actually, no, that was in one scenario. In the old one, range 2 topped out at 2099, and here it tops out at 2120, so it did actually increase there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It had to, because,
But this one.
but if I would've added that dollar without normalizing it, it would've increased it even more.
Oh, yeah.
Does that make sense?
It would have been like 23 something.
Yes.
And we didn't want the
And this
teachers
isn't-
I
at
don't.
Yeah.
95 or way above, I mean, because the teachers, we never could get the teachers to the same percentage above everybody else that the support staff was, and that wasn't
Right.
equitable.
On range 3, it goes down. What about people, are there anybody there that
No, there's.
we're gonna have to
nobody there.
grandfather?
No.
Okay,
No, because that was one of the things I was checking to see where they were on the
just making
bottom,
sure.
so that way they didn't carry over.
So there'll be no grandfathering on the upper
grandfathering
ranges?
either.
Not on this schedule.
Okay.
There is one
I
that we
think
have
there
to
was one
grandfather.
schedule that we had.
There's
to
To
do.
do
just
two
two of them,
people,
yeah.
yeah. And we would just leave them on their current schedule.
And just give
Or
them,
reevaluate them.
okay.
We had discussions on if they have a bachelor's degree or certification, we were gonna give them more, $1 more per hour. Have we talked any more about that, or is that a possibility?
We had talked about it some. I have mixed feelings about that. I think in some cases a bachelor's degree might make you a better para. If your bachelor's degree is in zoology, are you going to be a better para? Probably not unless you're working with high school students in science. If your bachelor's is in education, I would hope it would make you a better para. There is nothing here that reflects that, though.
But if it were in education, I would hope that you would be trying to pursue a teaching degree, teaching position, not a para position. I mean, that's a choice you make.
Unless
Maybe
you're
they have
unable to be
reasons.
certified because you can't pass the test.
Yeah.
Right, or a retiree that comes back and works, which is always great if we have them.
I mean, that might be a conversation for when we have a revenue source.
Retirees
You know.
have their own schedule. I'm sorry.
Retirees
Retirees have
Retirees
their
are
own
on a different
schedule.
schedule.
As
They
a
wouldn't be on
teacher,
this.
but not a para.
Yeah, the para.
Like if they
we
came
put-
back as a
Para,
para.
we'd put them on here.
And as a retiree?
We're not gonna pay them $40 an hour to be a para.
Okay.
At least
And
I
but
think
then
that
at the
would be
same time,
excessive.
they're choosing to be a para, they know what the pay schedule is for a para, regardless, as long as they have 60 hours, they've met the requirement.
Does state
Not
still have a
inclined to-
requirement on a number of days you can work or whatever if you only have 60 hours, or is that all gone now?
And you can
No,
work
there's-
as many as you
Yeah.
want.
Yeah, there's no requirement.
Retirees can only work 550.
Yeah, with the retirees, they have the hour limit of $5.50. Alyssa, did what we explained, did that address the issues with the employee groups you were talking about?
I mean, if that's the most we're willing to give them, I think it's gonna have to be
Well, I feel like it's,
fine. Yeah, I feel like it's,
meets
yeah.
what we discussed in
Yes.
terms of giving
Yeah.
the same as last
we
year.
just need to, yes, I agree. I think as long as we address the communication issue within the bigger group, that'll be good. But I think I'm comfortable with that because I feel like that's the maximum they can receive this year anyway. And that's
Are-
just
are
what
you
we need to
saying-
communicate with them.
Are you saying that their person, their rep on United SJSD is not communicating with the
Correct.
entire group?
Correct.
Okay, so
And
that's
that's been
something
a
we need to talk about as we look for next year. Maybe there's a better way for us to communicate what's going on. I mean, that's just a thought.
It's the
Well-
mailing lists, getting addresses put in
Well,
properly.
I know
There
that
might be some
person
sour
has
grapes
the
there,
entire
too.
list.
Oh, do they?
That's not the issue.
Yeah,
Okay.
so.
So I'm not sure.
Wait, it's not being communicated.
I'm not sure what the decision-making was there. I do vaguely remember in our AP that there was a paragraph in there about removal of members if we felt like they weren't doing, it's not very specific.
Well, and I know that one is a newer one.
Yeah.
That was a replacement,
Mhm.
so we, like,
Yeah.
maybe you just need to communicate.
I was thinking maybe you could kick some butt.
I mean, I could, I really want to. I just don't feel like it's my place.
Are we okay with submitting this as presented?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like it's the best deal they're gonna get this year.
The next one is the educational support. Nope, that's page 2 of the educational support. Then the next one gets to the support staff. And that is the 3rd page in your new packet.
That has the print shop, correct? The secretary?
Starts
Yes.
with print shop. Okay, so just to highlight the differences on this one, remember we had talked about, one of the main discussion topics was what to do with 221, or 211, 221, 260 secretaries. The overall feeling was that they basically did relatively the same work, but just that some of them were doing it longer, more days. What we did was entirely, we being Wes, took secretaries 211, well, that range 1 just disappeared on the old schedule, it's just gone. It was replaced with what you see on the new schedule, range 1, where we now have print shop. We took print shop off of the operations salary schedule because they are not a part of that collective bargaining unit. So we had to find a different place for them to be. This seemed like the logical spot.
And so how much was their raise?
What was it?
Was it 55,
It was
65?
55 plus placement and step then, so it's going to end up being 85 cents an hour or something like that probably. And we can
I can look it up, give you the exact.
just that. Okay, and then so the 211 secretaries who were on range 1 of the old schedule went to range 2 of the new schedule. The 221 secretaries that were on range 2 went to range 3. So now 221s and 260s are on the same range, which on the new schedule is range 3.
So 221, is that a 10-month, and then 260 is a 12-month?
Yeah,
Secretary.
well, it's basically 10 3/4 versus 12, 10 and a half versus 12.
Or 10 and a half is, those are elementary secretaries? Are they the
Well,
211s?
the only 260 secretaries, if I am correct, Wes, correct me if I'm wrong, the only 260 secretaries are some at the high school. There are no 260s at the middle schools or elementaries that I'm aware of. Is that the way
No,
you
there
guys
aren't, there aren't
understand?
any.
Okay.
I didn't, unless there's random at middle school, elementary wouldn't have one.
No, they're at the high schools, Hilliard, TMC, central office,
Yes.
maintenance has been there too. think that's
Nutrition
it.
services at,
Yeah, so what maintenance, yeah, there's
Right.
1 or 2 or
Okay, so
maybe 3.
we talked about putting them all on the same range because they did the same, so 211 though is on range 2.
Wes and I made an executive decision that you guys can overrule if you want. The reason we didn't move 211s clear to range 3 is that was gonna be like a 17-18% raise in some cases, which we thought we would do over, instead of doing in 1 year, do it 2. This is still a significant raise, it was like 10 or 11%. We just felt like that was more than we should do with anyone.
But eventually the plan is they'll all be.
Next year, they'll all be in range 3.
Okay.
That's
That's
the
what I,
plan.
that's what I remember us discussing.
So,
And there's not
Not
that.
next year, the year after.
Well,
We will negotiate
18,
that.
For
18,
18,
19.
19.
so paid holidays, the secretaries, the 260s get the 19 paid days off also, but the others don't?
Because they work 12 months, right?
Yeah.
So that's a pretty substantial difference too. I mean, I hate to say that, but I'm looking
No,
at
it
that and I'm
is.
thinking, or,
It's 18.
18 days, okay, so we're looking at, they get an additional 18 paid days off that the 221s do not. So if you add 18 and 221, it puts them pretty close together as far as,
Well, they're on the same range. They're both
2 and
threes.
3. Yeah.
No, 211s are 2, but 221s and 260s are both on 3. So,
I know, it's just one of those little weird things, it's hard to, you know, I don't know if there's some way that we could, you know, do an accrual basis on vacation or holidays, you know, where if you work certain, I just don't know. It seems like it would be more fair, I don't know how else to say that, in the sense that if you have that longer contract, you get 18 additional paid days for basically not working.
Yeah, there are not a lot more working days involved there, and to me, that's an issue to revisit for
Okay,
18, 19. No, I do.
What's the
think
month,
that's a good point.
yeah.
on a 221, is it truly August through May?
221s are basically August through June.
Through June.
August through June.
They start
So
around
the July is the only month off?
that's correct.
Mhm.
So why wouldn't they get the paid holidays during the time they're working?
Because we only give paid holidays to 12-month employees.
Are these the exception to that paid holiday group? Like, are these?
Well, it's the same for our 221 administrators. They don't get paid holidays, the 260 administrators do. It's just an oddity of that particular,
Well, even if we did a per diem, I mean, let's say we per diem, a holiday falls within your contracted period, you
Right.
can pay them per diem day. That might be more fair. I mean, I hate to say that, but that would be more
Maybe
fair to
equitable.
those people, more equitable as far as,
If you start adding it for them, you're gonna have to add it for all the teachers too.
well, but we're on that 181 contract, so I know
They're
that's
on a
not
221.
traditional.
I mean, so, I mean, it's.
You're right, it's,
Yeah, that's just one of the
It's
perks
one
of
of those-
working year round. I don't,
yeah.
can we agree to make that a point of discussion for
the future?
18, 19?
Yes, for sure.
because I would like to get their input, and they're not sitting here right now. I mean, seriously.
You're right.
And we
Oh,
have,
absolutely.
and we
They're
have not
sitting here right
discussed
now.
that,
Right,
so
and it
that's
hasn't
fair.
been discussed at United SJSD, and they're not here to discuss it, so.
Print shop was
Good
60
thought.
cents, then plus the steps.
Yes.
Wes says print shop was 60 cents plus finding the closest step and then giving them a step.
Okay.
All right, so we're good on support staff? All right, the next one is professional staff, and as I recall our discussion correctly, we were recommending a step there for those folks. The active retirees is the next
Big
page.
package, small package.
Big package.
Big package.
We're going through the big package.
You'd be out of pages on the small packet.
Well, we have one more.
Yeah, just one more. Okay, so in the big packet, active retirees, with just a step.
How bad it would work for the district. Pretty good money.
No, it's,
Pretty doggone good money. I
You're
don't
gonna
think I
have to
could do
wait a
that
while.
though, could I?
You're gonna have to wait.
Conflict of
I
interest.
think there's something about conflict of interest.
You're gonna have to wait.
Interpreters is next. That's tied to the salary, to the teacher's base, so we were just doing step. Same with nurses. Now, that one is not tied to the teacher base, but in our study, we found that our nurses are the highest paid
Okay.
right now anyway, so we're going with the step.
Have
Now
they
again-
always
now
had
again-
range 1 and range 2? Have they always had that? Masters and RN?
I think at one point there were probably 50 ranges there. It seemed to be in everything.
I mean, I like the look of this, so.
Yeah, now, you know,
What would be the next?
the nurses are another category where it's my belief that most of our nurses who work for the school do it because they want the school schedule. I mean, obviously, they could make more money if they want to go into private industry,
Correct, you're right.
but they, in terms of school nurses, they're toward the top of the
That's why I looked into that one. So they're on a 181 contract, or what is their, or not contract, but they're
Yeah,
work.
elementary nurses would be
Are they 181s?
middle.
181.
They may have a couple extra days. Not sure if they're exactly 181.
They actually might be less than teachers.
No, they're
Do
not.
they
less.
report
Yeah.
the same day as we do with those
Look
5
it
days
up.
before?
Well, and they work some of the enrollments.
That's what I'm saying. That's
True.
why I think they may be a few more days.
I think it's,
And, yeah,
And they work screenings, kindergarten screening, but
Well,
that's
they get
usually
paid
the
extra for
school
some.
year.
okay. Nurses we just talked about. Nutrition services is the next one, and that's the last page of the new schedule. Basically what was done here, if you look at range 2 of each, you'll see in the new one, $1 was added to the base. And that's really the only significant change. Range 3, 4, and 5 were changed a few cents. We found that our nutrition service managers are already way at the top.
Yeah.
And so we talked about giving them a step. And then our nutrition service assistants were one of those groups that was quite a ways behind. This dollar addition to the base does put them again at the 50th percentile. Again, you'll find that in the first few steps, they're really median. After they get into 10 and above, they're toward the top again.
Range 5 decreased?
At the bottom.
At
Yes,
the
they
top.
all,
At the
yeah,
top,
at the tops
yeah.
of them, they all decreased because they were way, like $5 an hour.
So are they
over
gonna
the
be
next-
put on the closest?
Yeah,
And then they'll be
when
good
I looked
then?
it up, nobody's gonna lose money.
Yep.
Because we didn't have anybody in the last 10 or 15 steps. See, they used to only go to
Okay.
12.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and
So
so
what would be the solution? Compressing? I mean, is that what, I mean, what's your, there's some.
That's what I normalized, because I think it decreased, didn't it, from this year compared to
A few
last
cents.
year?
Yeah. 6 cents.
It wasn't a lot, but.
Yeah,
but the-
bottom decreased quite a bit
Yeah.
in some of them, yeah.
yeah, they did.
But there's
because-
nobody really down there.
No, there was nobody after, I think it was step 17 or 18, really.
Oh.
And
So,
those bottom rates are the very top.
yeah, we're still,
That
the
you
number, yeah, considerably higher than everybody else.
Yeah, it was shocking
Yeah.
to see that, I mean, especially considering the assistants were so far from the 50th percentile, but the managers were way over.
Right.
So we had to balance that out amongst that group.
So, questions or concerns on the nutrition services? Everybody good with what's presented there on the new one?
Just for clarification, are they now, with the new proposed range here or schedule, are they now at the 50th percentile?
Yes.
Or are they above as they go down? I mean, because
I think to start.
As they go down,
They-
they're still above.
they're still, even at the $2.69 lower rate,
Yeah.
they're still at the very top range.
I think the
compared to
top
other
ranges
districts.
were like around, like at $17.
Wow.
$17. And then the managers, it was like $22, $23.
Okay.
See, and they're still
They're
Well
still
above.
above.
well above the,
And hopefully, well, two things, hopefully we get a new revenue source, but even if things were to remain the same for some reason, these schedules now, we don't foresee, and Wes is praying that there will be no more massive changes, and we'll just step everybody, and they'll be 50th percentile or above. We won't have to worry about adjusting to get people where they belong.
So this is the second support group we got to 50th percentile in 2 years rather than 3.
Right.
So that's
That's good.
huge, I
That's
think.
good.
I mean, we need to promote that. We need to
Sure.
be
Everybody
proud
good
of
with
that.
the nutrition services? Next
What's the
one's,
typical work year, calendar year of nutrition services? Is it 181 or is it less? It was less, right?
it's less, I
Oh,
think
yeah.
it's
170.
174.
172.
4 or
It's
70.
174.
They have
They had,
four,
they had the 170 student contact
Right,
days
and then they
and
had
4 additional.
2 clean days, 1 PD day, and then another clean day at the end. So they had 2 to get the schools ready in the beginning of the year, and then she had a PD day somewhere during the year, and then at the end, then they clean up and put stuff away or whatever.
All right, the next page is the OTs and PTs. We're recommending a step on that. That is tied to the teacher base, I believe, isn't it, Wes?
Yes.
So we don't contract out a lot of this, we have our own OTs and PTs.
My understanding is that the OTs, PTs, we have our own for the most part. I think occasionally we have to contract out services. But the SLPs is kind of a 2/3, 1/3.
We started that last year, 15, 16. That was the first year we had, we used to contract most of it, but then we found that we could find some people that actually wanted to come and do it here rather than saying we'd have to contract.
Because then they know the kids, I mean, there's just a good,
Yeah, it's a
Much
win-win.
better, oh yeah.
Costs us less and the kids have a familiar.
and they're familiar with the routines of the kids. I mean, so much goes into those therapies.
All right, so OTs, PTs, we talked about speech implementer, homebound teacher tutor. Now, the speech implementer role will eventually phase itself out with the changes there in the requirements. We'll recommend a step, so that is based off of the teacher base.
How many homebound teachers do we have?
How many what?
Homebound teachers?
That's a really good question. I have no idea.
There's not very many.
A handful.
And do they work all year? Or are they just
Um,
for a certain amount? Like a child has surgery or transplant or something, and they have to,
yeah.
It's mostly speech implementers. There's no really, I don't think we have maybe one or two
I-
homebound.
I can only think of two.
I just didn't
And
know if
it's
they
a-
worked
and
all
it would
year.
be for a student who has a long-term illness or,
Or cancer or something.
yeah.
Okay,
And
I was
then-
just curious with that.
Are they paid, so I understand that, but if it, do they go from child to child and whenever there's need? If there's no need, they're still,
Are they still contracted?
Well,
in?
there's need.
contracted.
We have kids that are homebound permanently
Oh,
okay.
okay.
because of their IEPs. They can't
Okay.
come to school because they
okay.
can't.
That's what we were trying
Social
to
aspects. So
understand.
they're busy. It's not like they're sitting in a room waiting to do something.
We just never hear or see
that's
about.
the question, because we don't
Yes,
see those.
yes.
Yeah.
Well,
And Denise
unfortunately,
can
there
fill
are
you in
kids-
more on it if you need more
Okay,
information.
no, just,
Yeah.
we're just curious.
You know, like they have a immune deficiency of
Yes,
some sort.
that makes
Can't
sense.
be around other kids
Yeah.
and they're homebound. So no, it's like I said, they're not just sitting there waiting for something to do. They have their regular schedule.
And surely if they were contracted that way and we only needed them 7 months, they would come in on the schedule and then we would pay them the 7 months of this schedule,
Right.
right?
We have
Prorated down.
Yeah, prorated.
we also have another homebound rate for, like, if we have more than what we need.
And I think it's on the additional
Yeah,
pay
it's
rate.
on
I
the
think it's
additional pay rate.
$17 an hour as well.
That,
Is-
I was wondering about that too, because
Yeah.
I heard that somebody, a teacher, was actually doing
Yeah.
homebound stuff as well, so that makes sense.
So, yeah, I mean,
they're not
like I
getting
said,
too
the
much.
two that we have, they're busy, so we,
Yeah.
you know, so we have other additional ones.
Okay, the next one is the adult ed. The one you have in your packet is the 2016-17. I talked to Betty, and our adult ed is grant funded, and they need to make their expenses fit within the grant. Her intention is to give everybody a step for next year.
And we want to make sure that grant money covers it only, and we're not subsidizing
Yeah.
it
Right.
district-wide.
That's
Have we been
basically
subsidizing it? So we need to make sure we don't.
Okay.
Interesting.
Well, folks, that gets us through the package.
I have a question on the retired teacher salary schedule. It says that if they plug in as a teacher, that's not if they come back as a assistant or something along that line? Then they would
If
fit
they're,
on-
if they're in a certified position, this is what we use. If they say, I want to be a para, I want to be a, any classified position, they would be placed on the appropriate classified schedule.
Okay, so this limits them to in the classroom.
Well, we have retirees that could do administration, they could do any number of things.
They
Okay.
could come back and
They're
work in the
limited to
kitchen.
550.
Food service.
Okay.
Yeah, all of them are
Number of
limited to
hours.
550 hours, no matter what job they
Okay,
take.
gotcha.
Any other questions?
This is a lot of work. Good job.
I'm
Yeah.
very disappointed there wasn't no screaming or shouting in person.
We can do it if you want.
Wait till you get to,
We'll get that.
we'll warm it up.
I thought we were done. We got through all the salary schedules.
I think we're done for.
I think we're done for today.
We are done.
Somebody remind me, I don't have my calendar in front of me, we had one more scheduled before the next United SJSD.
We have two.
Two more before the next?
Tuesday and
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Why did we do that?
Because those were dates that were open, but since we haven't discussed PTO policy really in United, like we, went and highlighted some concerns we have, but we haven't discussed it, I don't know if we can adequately negotiate it. So maybe we need to,
Put that at the top of the 16th agenda.
and not, what else can we negotiate at this point?
Well, that was what I was gonna ask you. I know
I would
we've
love for 2
spoken,
meetings to-
we've spoken to varying degrees, both about PTO and the overtime,
Yes.
comp time, but not come to a group consensus,
Right.
really.
Not really get them in on any decision making.
No, and PTO, we just, like I said, highlighted, we've talked about, when we've met a little bit here and there, but we haven't come with the whole group to
So that would
really,
give them the opportunity
hammer
to
it
give,
out.
yeah,
yeah.
more input. Specific input is what you're
Yeah.
So you think that needs to go to United first?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think we need to come to some consensus with that group before.
We could meet Wednesday and do the initials, and then United's Thursday.
But what if our initials aren't adequate for those other people? And I feel like we'll be just having a meeting to have a meeting at that point.
And
You know what I'm
And
saying?
the process we
on
established was
Thursday.
United and then
Be united
negotiations.
first and then
It
negotiate.
was to
Okay, so
come.
our next negotiations was scheduled for Tuesday?
Tuesday and Wednesday.
Okay,
Cancel
what I would like to see if I can make happen, we, all of us already have Tuesday on our calendars. I'd
It's
like to
Valentine's Day,
That's Valentine's Day,
just FYI.
remember?
So in other words, they'd rather be
It's okay.
Wednesday.
No, what were you gonna say? I just wanted to remind
Valentine's Day
you.
doesn't matter with 37 years.
It doesn't
I have
matter.
no life.
John works, so I'm good. I'll be here.
That
What do you wanna do?
Okay, since all of you lovers need to,
Wednesday maybe?
let's talk about, Wednesday's on all of our calendars already. I will contact the other United SJSD members and say, hey, could we do the United meeting on Wednesday and then use Thursday as a negotiations?
That would be great,
That would be awesome.
if that can happen.
So flip
Yeah.
it.
Yes, that, I would feel much
Because
better about that.
that way, hopefully, we can get those two topics knocked out in United, at least to come to
Make those
either an agreement, not
priorities.
to agree. Make those two priorities and then use Thursday as a negotiation
And then the
session.
conversation is fresh on our minds to go into the next night negotiating.
It'd be the best use of time.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. So,
Or we could do United SJSD from 4:15 to 6:15 and then have negotiations from 6:16 to midnight.
I mean, we could,
Do it all in one night, be done.
but I'm gonna need a half day sub for the next day.
For the next
But
day.
then you have to
And
skip
somebody's
out.
gonna have to buy food.
Right, okay. Well,
Serious people.
I don't see any need for us to meet on Tuesday, do you guys? Okay, so let's cancel next Tuesday. John, do you hear that? I've got it. Okay, so you won't have to come tape. You can if you want, there won't be any tape. And then I'll email the rest of the United members
And
when I go back to the office and see if I can get the vast majority of them. And if we don't have 100%, I'm okay with that. but
Well, and
I'd
they
like
have
to get at least
alternates as well.
a couple of the groups do. Hopefully that will work, and then we can scoot the process up a little
You
bit.
good with it?
Okay, well, thank you very much for you guys' work on this. I appreciate your time and your efforts, and I'll let you know as soon as I hear from the rest of the United SJSD
When will the salary schedules go to the board?
on the 27th.
Okay.
So can we make note in the minutes as far as the issues that we're gonna address next year? I mean, we talked about those items that we were gonna address next year, and it'd be good to go ahead and start that list for next year, so we don't.
In March.
Well,
I think
After
those
we
should
get
be
through
noted
this in
in the minutes.
February.
Yeah.
what I think would be
Bridget's shaking her head.
my hope for United SJSD is that we've got all the insurance things we need by March.
Right.
And that's the last big piece of the puzzle. And then in April and May when we meet, or I'm not sure if we have a May meeting scheduled or not. For sure, in April when we meet, I think we start on next year topics.
That's a good idea.
That'd be great.
Yeah, we have a May
Get
18th
ahead of this,
schedule.
yeah.
Do we have an 18th
Proactive.
schedule?
Well, you know, with that one can be,
I know, we might not need that one.
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean,
It
we're
might
just
be like-
doing, this process is
Might
just
be like
working so well.
Valentine's
that-
Day, nobody will.
That's the logistic thing.
Take you out,
Will this room be available on Thursday?
You beat me to the
Is this room available on next Thursday for negotiations if we move the day?
That's a very good
no, we
question.
could.
What?
If this room would be available for negotiation, I'm just thinking logistically
Yeah.
where we would be for negotiations if this room isn't open.
So we need to check into that.
Well, we know that the
We know the
boardroom would be
boardroom would
open.
be-
Based on tonight's large crowd, I think
Well, when we get
we
into
would be
PTO,
safe
there
there.
might be
I was gonna say, yeah,
more.
that might be a
Yeah.
little more attended.
Well, we could always put in more chairs there.
John, who do we talk to see if this room's open Thursday? Okay. All right,
Call her
I'll-
now and ask her? Is that what you're saying?
I'll just have Karen or Cassie talking about next week.
Yeah, we want to see about arranging for this room for next Thursday, if I'm able to get United SJSD moved to Wednesday.
Just call up to Karen or Cassie and we'll,
And canceling it on Wednesday, because when United SJSD, I'm assuming we're still meeting
In the
at
boardroom.
Okay,
So we need to swap this.
so cancel one day.
And if we have to meet in the boardroom,
Let's see the
Right,
date
I was
next,
just thinking so we
the
can
date
let
next
people know
Thursday's
where
the
we're gonna be
16th?
at, 'cause
right?
Be the 15th and 16th.
15th and
16,
16th.
yeah. Yep.
And I'll send out.
It's
everything
Valentine's
once we
Day
know
the
that.
14th.
You don't know.
Darn, I was hoping to spend that with all you lovely people.
Hey, I'm gonna be with my toddler. You can come spend it with me
You can come hang
anyway.
out with me.
My husband will be at the firehouse.
We can still have a group day.
Well, this is good that Valentine's Day is no longer, because Bridget's been griping all.
Oh, man.
Oh, Bridget.
Can't imagine.
I don't complain.
All right, well, thank you very much, folks, appreciate your work.
Thanks.